Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so there's this huge universal illusion out there that just because we're getting older, we're automatically growing up, right? Well, we need to shatter that illusion right now. Listen, the passing of time absolutely guarantees aging, but it definitely does not guarantee growth. If you want to actually reach your potential, you can't just sit around and wait for it to magically arrive. You've got to go out and grab it. So let's dive into exactly how we do that by unpacking what's known as the Law of Intentionality, the reality that growth doesn't just happen. I want you to answer this question honestly. Do you have a specific plan for your personal growth? Now, this is the exact question a man named Kurt Kampmeyer once asked leadership expert John C. Maxwell. And let me tell you, it completely stopped John in his tracks. It was a massive wake-up call. When he was asked this, John actually started fumbling for answers. He started listing out all his recent accomplishments, how incredibly hard he was working, his super busy schedule. But he quickly realized a really hard truth. All of those answers were just based on mere activity, not actual improvement. Being busy just isn't the same thing as growing. Okay, let's dive into this. Just because you grow older doesn't mean you keep growing. I mean, it sounds so obvious when you hear it out loud, right? But so many of us literally live our lives as if personal development is just this automatic byproduct of time. But here's a fascinating little fact. In nature, certain creatures like crustaceans, crabs, lobsters, they actually do grow automatically. As they age, they physically expand, they shed their old shells. It just happens. But for us, for human beings, our potential just doesn't work like some compounding interest account that you can leave alone and watch grow. Reaching your true human potential requires active, deliberate, and just relentless effort. It's an uphill climb for sure.
So, what's actually stopping us? Well, it usually comes down to Section 1, the 8 growth gaps. These are the psychological traps completely paralyzing our potential.
Let's just rapid fire through the first 4 of these internal excuses. First up is the assumption gap. That's the belief that time alone equals progress. And well, we just busted that myth. Next is the knowledge gap. I just don't know how to grow. This usually happens when we rely on the random school of hard knocks instead of actually planning our learning. Then we have the timing gap. Oh, that insidious little voice whispering, it's not the right time to begin. And finally, the mistake gap. The fear of looking foolish or getting it wrong, which literally prevents us from ever even trying. So look at these. Which of these internal excuses are you currently using to justify a lack of progress?
And then we run into the final 4 gaps. The perfection gap tells us that, we have to find the absolute best way before taking a single step. Then there's the inspiration gap, which makes us a total slave to our moods. It's that feeling of, I just don't feel like doing it today. The comparison gap completely derails us because we look around and think, man, everyone else is so much better than I am. And lastly, the expectation gap. I really thought this would be easier. Guys, waiting for perfect timing or a flawless plan or some sudden burst of inspiration, that is a guaranteed strategy for remaining a passive observer in your own life.
So how do we actually cross these gaps? That brings us to Section 2, intentions versus intentionality. We absolutely have to shift from just having good intentions to actively practicing intentionality. Because merely having good intentions, it gives you this false sense of accomplishment. You feel good because, hey, you want to be better. But just desiring change is never, ever going to get you to a life of true significance. Just look at the contrast here. Words of good intention, like desire, someday, somebody should, those are words of passivity. If you live your life here, your lack of results is going to leave you incredibly frustrated. But words of intentional living, action, today, I will, these represent a totally proactive lifestyle. Action is what converts our dreams into reality. And intentionality is the bridge that actually gets us to a life that matters.
And we can really see this contrast when we look at the accidental growth mindset versus the intentional growth mindset. Accidental growth plans to start tomorrow, but intentional growth insists on starting today. Accidental growth relies on good luck and learning only after some painful mistake, but intentional growth takes complete responsibility and often learns before the mistakes even happen. I want you to take a hard look at this. Which path are you currently walking on? Are you basically hoping for an accident, or are you executing an intention?
And all of this leads us right into Section 3, writing your great story.
To really grasp how intentionality changes everything, it helps to look at your life as a story. Back in 1976, John Maxwell received a gift from his assistant, Eileen Beavers. It was a book titled The Greatest Story Ever Told. Now, he was super intrigued and couldn't wait to read it, but when he opened it up, he was completely shocked. Every single page inside the book was totally blank, but inside the front cover, Eileen had written this little note:
Write a great story with your life. And that blank book sparked a massive realization. We are all the authors of our own significance. Your life story doesn't just happen to you, it's written by you, page by page, through your intentional, everyday actions. You don't just want to be a teller of good stories, right? You want your life to be the good story.
So how do you start writing the story of significance? Let's move to and see how this builds. It boils down to 3 highly actionable steps that will help you cross that threshold into intentional living. Step 1, put yourself in the story. Step 2, put significance in your story. And step 3, put your strengths in your story. Let's break down exactly what each of these means.
Step 1, put yourself in the story. Listen, passive people take themselves completely out of their own life story. They just sort of exist as mere observers on the sidelines, wishing things were different. And to prove just how powerful this step is, consider the famous Goertzel study. Researchers dug into the backgrounds of 300 highly successful people. We're talking individuals like Albert Einstein, Helen Keller, Winston Churchill. And what they found was just staggering. 3/4 of them came from backgrounds of severe childhood adversity, poverty, or broken homes. Adversity literally tried to knock them out of their own stories, but they refused. They deliberately placed themselves as the active heroes of their lives. They chose action over excuses. Step 2 is putting significance into your story, and you do this by stepping way out of your comfort zone. A huge part of this is starting before you actually feel ready. Are you worried you won't be good at it right away? Well, let me let you in on a little secret. Absolutely nobody is good when they first start. Even the Nobel laureate Ernest Hemingway famously admitted that the first draft of anything is garbage. The key here is simply to begin. If you want to live a life that really matters, don't wait until you get good to start. You have to start right now so that you can become good.
And then we have step 3, put your strengths in your story. This is all about leverage. The author Jim Collins once shared these 3 critical questions to test your readiness for transformational change. First, can you be the best in the world at what you do, or, at least the best you in the world using your unique skills? Second, are you deeply passionate about it? Because passion is literally the fuel for significance. And third, do you have the resources, like the concepts we're going through in this explainer, to actually change your world? You've got to leverage your unique inherent talents to write your best pages.
To really drive this home, I want to share a terrifying curse that was once spoken by the Tartar tribes of Central Asia against their enemies. When they wanted to curse someone, they didn't wish for them to fall in battle or, die of some terrible disease. Instead, they simply said, "May you stay in one place forever." Wow. Just imagine that for a second. That is the ultimate cost of apathy. If you don't intentionally try to improve yourself every single day, you're going to be stuck in the exact same place, doing the exact same things, and never ever gaining new territory. As we close out this explainer, I want to turn the mirror directly back to you. Imagine you have a book in front of you. The pages are completely blank. You have the pen in your hand. So, what will you write on your blank pages today? Are you going to rely on accidental growth and just sort of hope things magically get better? Or will you embrace the law of intentionality, step out of that comfort zone, and deliberately author a life of deep significance? The choice is entirely yours. Start writing.